The question that we're asking, can the opposition actually fuel the kind of protests we've seen raging across the country, just the sheer mammoth protests that have been taking place across India? And now that the government is refusing to blink at all, no rollback happening on this scheme, will the protests ebb? Cutting across to our panelists this evening, Tom Wadakan, spokesperson, Bharatiya Janata Party, Supriya Shrinate, spokesperson, Congress. Ms. Shrinate, the BJP says that this entire protest saga that we are witnessing for the last couple of days is motivated by the opposition, the likes of you, the likes of the RJD and other opposition parties.
So they have the scantest regard as far as anybody protesting in this country against the draconian measures are concerned. जब किसान सड़क पे था तो वो खालिस्तानी था, आज युवा सड़क पे हैं तो वो गुंडे हैं. We denounce any kind of violence, but the reality is when you put the jeopardy, the future of all of these people in jeopardy, they are going to get down on the ground and protest. And it has nothing to do with kaun uksa raha hai, kaun nahi uksa raha. We of course stand in solidarity and we back peaceful protests by people who want their futures to be secure, and what is wrong with that? And I just want to make a very brief point, because the Congress delegation had met the President today on this, and I think the very brief argument that I want to make is that this scheme is being opposed by people who you intend it for. And you have to listen to them. You have to listen to political people. You do not have to put army generals as your spokesperson outside. Please do not politicize the Indian Army. And quite frankly, this does not go to the Parliament Standing Committee. This does not go to the Select Committee. There are various loopholes that various generals are talking about. So please get them on board and look at a way forward. We have said have a pilot project. Don't come in with a scheme where so many of these things are being criticized. And as far as some of the things that the BJP leaders have said about the scheme and about the people who will potentially be trained from it, I think it's an eye opener. Kailash Vijayvargiya ko lagta hai BJP ke daftar ke chaprasi aur wahan ke security guards wahan se aayenge. Kishan Reddy ji ko lagta hai dhobi, and I have highest regard for professionals like this. But the Indian Army, jiska pura motto namak, naam aur nishan hota hai, usko aap dhobi, nai, ye sab banane ki baat kar rahe hain. So at some point in time, somebody has to wake up and ask, what was the whole idea about the scheme? Because you're changing it every hour, which means this is an afterthought. You did not put enough effort, enough consultation, enough consensus on this. That's all that we are saying.
Tom Wadakan, the fact is one can blame the opposition for trying to piggyback on the anger. But to suggest that this massive expanse of the protest that we have seen raging across 11 states is the doing of the opposition is giving them too much credit, isn't it?
Preeti, this is not a credit game. The UPA has been well known for reforms, extraordinary reforms. Starting from the Nehru era, we had the Jeep scam, we had the Bofors scam, reforms of course, the Tetra Track scam, the chopper scam, the other scam, then you had 1981, you had the Boeing aircraft Poseidon scam, you name it, and this reform has been going on. Now this UPA dispensation, which has its, a Bata company having head offices in all villages, and they are capable of creating situations which is a challenge right now. Disturbing peace, it's like hiring a cause. You hire a cause and then you say, well, the real cause is that the Prince of Wales is being investigated, and while we talk...
But I want to ask you, Mr. Wadakan...
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. I demand the right to be speaking. The Prince of Wales is being interrogated. How do you divert attention from this? The reality is, these scamsters have done whatever this damage that the army has suffered. Today, when there's a genuine reform, the thought process started in 1989. 1989, then we came down to 1999, Kargil War, and the Subramaniam Committee talked about getting the average age. We are one of the oldest army. Our young men are as old as the highest in the world. Now what do? We wanted a narrative where we have a youngster. Now all political parties talk about youngsters taking charge. But why can't the army also take charge, have youngsters there?
In a single statement, Mr. Vadakan, in a single statement, you've discredited the army Jawan, who sometimes in his 30s is as capable, as fit as any other Jawan who would be from 21 to 23 years of age. Would possibly have, sir, would possibly have more experience. Would possibly have more experience.
But veterans have put on record.
Okay.
This is not my
sir, if we are talking about on record, okay.
Please check the record.
Mr. Vadakan, if we are talking... Mr.
India
Vadakan.
Today has recorded a report, article, which it is reported.
Mr. Vadakan, if we are getting into on record, then we can even talk about on record the former CDS, who before he became the CDS had said very clearly that one needs to increase the age of retirement for Jawans. Now that goes completely contradictory.
I'm talking about your own publication. Please check your...
Sir, there are multiple articles. Multiple articles will be there to project various points of view.
No, it's not.
So to cherry pick is your privilege. Sir, to cherry pick is your privilege. Okay.
To carry on a narrative of the army. This is nothing else but intended to bring younger people on the forefront. And if you have a problem...
Sir, but like I said, there will be many who suggest that a Jawan in his 30s is fairly young and very capable and experienced. But I'll come back to the moot question, and I will ask you a question, and I'll go to Ms. Renate to get an answer on that. Are you actually saying, sir, that the kind of protest, Mr. Vadakan, that we are seeing across the country, where are the handiwork of one political party? Because if they had that much going on for them, they wouldn't be the opposition. You're telling me the Congress instigated arson, violence, protest, peaceful as well, across 11 states.
No, this is Satyagraha, which is supposed to be peaceful, according to the fake Gandhis. This is the new version of Satyagraha. Now you go to the Experiments of Truth and find out what Satyagraha is. And if these people don't know the meaning of Satyagraha, I wish they would go and have a look at that book. Experiments with Truth, Mahatma Gandhi. So now let me tell you something. This is a combo of parties.
So you are actually, all the youth that have been protesting are protesting at the behest of the Congress? Are
you telling me they are applicants for the defense forces? They are patriotic young men. They will not come into the street for...
So there are many who, as we speak today, many are sitting on peaceful protests, hunger strikes, and I can count 7 locations. But I want to bring in Mr. Nate.
Burning trains. You think that's okay?
So there are other protests also happening. So I do what I think or not doesn't matter. But okay,
talk about discipline. Are you suggesting that they go in for indiscipline, burning trains, creating indiscipline?
Sir, I am saying as we speak, there are people sitting on peaceful protests as well. So clearly they disagree with this scheme. But I want to bring in Supriya Srinath on this conversation. Supriya Srinath, there is a Bharat Bandh which was announced today. We don't know whether any, if it's come from any student unions or nobody has taken credit or ownership of this Bandh. But we see the Congress protesting in various areas as well. Most protests were spearheaded by the Congress party, Ms. Srinath. So the question does occur, was it Congress instigated or the Congress trying to piggyback on the anger of the youth?
The problem with the Sanghis and the newly minted Sanghis is that they forget the importance of protests in a democracy. In a liberal democracy like India, we have a right to protest. We are a country born out of a freedom struggle. We are a party that spearheaded that freedom struggle. Protesting is our fundamental right. And if the youth of this country, we are the youngest nation in the world,